All right, everybody, welcome in to day 19 of the Sean Diddy Combs trial. The rap impresario, we'll call him, has been on trial now for 4 weeks, 5 weeks. I am drunk with all of I don't even know where we are anymore. Been covering this every night here on RadioMisfits.com. And let me tell you about today. So Mondays are always big days, or at least they have been for the last couple of weeks. And this was no different all day long. We heard from Jane. Jane has now been on the stand for, I believe this is her third day. Jane is testifying anonymously. She is a former girlfriend of Diddy's. She is, in fact, she was his girlfriend right up until the moment that he got arrested. And we'll cover all that today as well, because she talks about the breakup. That's what it was. That was a step too far for her. All of this stuff that Jane had gone through, and let me tell you, she went through some stuff. All of that stuff was nothing compared to him getting arrested. That's when she finally decided, I've had enough and I am out. So without further delay, let's get into what Jane said on the stand today. There wasn't a whole bunch of other things going on to distract us from the actual meat and potatoes of her testimony. So let's get into it. All right, Jane taking the stand today. Jane, again, she's an influencer and a wannabe OnlyFans model. She dated Diddy for about 3 years and broke up with him only after he was arrested. Okay, so that's, now we know. Let's go through the list of things that I have here. Jane returns to the stand, it says. Jane received messages from Diddy pressuring her to send him videos of herself being, quote, a bad girl. So Jane was on the stand today, and they started out this afternoon or this morning's trial by going through text messages. So there were a lot of text messages that were shown to the jury. She says here, Jane said that she got, quote, upset and pushed back against the request from Diddy because he was with another woman. So while Diddy was with another woman, he sent Jane a text saying, send me a video of you being a bad girl. And Jane got angry because she was jealous, she said on the stand today. Diddy was with another girl. How dare he? Combs insisted anyway, saying, just do what I say, please. I'm horny. This according to an August 2023 text message that was shown to the jurors. More texts. Texts of Jane pushing back were also shown. Let's see here. What do we have? Hold on. I need to take a quick break here. I got distracted with something that we're doing. We don't edit here on the show. We just go live to tape. Hold on. All right, sorry about that. I had my phone left on, and, in previous episodes, the show's been interrupted by people calling me while I'm recording. It's so unprofessional. Okay, so Jane had some text, and the jurors were shown texts of Jane actually pushing back to Diddy on freak-offs. By the way, another thing that was revealed, and we'll get to the details of this, even after his house raid in March of 2024, remember when they raided 2 of Diddy's homes, one in Hollywood, Florida, and one in Southern California? Okay, he continued having freak-offs with Jane, the girl who was on the stand now, after we found out about these supposed parties, after we found out about the large stashes of baby oil that he was keeping. Even after we all learned this, he was still having freak-offs between his home raid in March of 2024 and his arrest in September of 2024. So they gave him the whole summer to just have a summer of freak-offs for Diddy. Summer of Diddy is what he called it. It says here, let's see, jurors shown texts of Jane pushing back on freak-offs. She says, I don't want to be used and locked in a room to perform and fulfill your fantasies. I'm coming to the realization of what this really is, Jane wrote back then. I don't want to feel obligated to keep performing these nights with you for the fear of losing the roof over my head, Jane texted in another message. See, this is, again, She was given a pretty nice life, you know. Diddy is still paying her rent, and we're going to get later into what Diddy is still paying. Yeah, well, it's pretty shocking. And there's some bombshells today, so stay tuned. All right, so Jordan is now seeing that that Jane was able to say, you know what, Diddy, I don't really want to do this. Which again, I think is a problem if I was on the jury. I'm not, but if I were, probably wouldn't let me on the jury. Middle-aged fat white man. What? Not really that big a fan of hip hop. Nah, they'd think that I'd have an axe to grind with a wealthy young black man. Although he's my age. Diddy's not young. Diddy's OG at this point. Anyway, okay, so here, I don't want to feel obligated to keep performing these nights with you for fear of losing the roof over my head. So she's saying, Diddy, look, is this blackmail? Am I being forced to do this? Which, again, I'll point out, as I've said in the last couple of weeks, this suggests agency on her part, that she does have the position to push back on these things, and that she could have left and stopped being in his universe anytime she wanted, which is what I've been saying now for weeks. The prosecution, they're charging him. They're going after life imprisonment. This guy is obviously a criminal, and he should do some time. But I don't see anything that says that, he's kidnapping these women or they're being forced, against their will. My goodness, Jane is still living in a $10,000 a month house that is rented for her, paid for by Diddy still. That doesn't sound like somebody, you want to talk about, sex trafficking, kidnapping. Talk to me about somebody who's kept in a room locked to a radiator for 10 years. That's the kind of person who deserves life in prison. I'm just not seeing that from this prosecution. Diddy didn't completely, Diddy didn't completely gloss over her messages. He answered her in a voice message, complaining about being sick. Okay, so she's like, I don't want to do freak offs. I know what this is about. If I say no, will I lose my home? That's basically what she's saying to him. He is apparently sick while she's sending these texts. And he says to her, this is a true open relationship, in a voicemail. Why do you have to make it a problem? Added a hoarse-voiced Diddy. So I guess that voice message was also played for the jury. So she sends text saying, I don't want to do these freak offs anymore. And he sends back one of those voice notes. This is a true open relationship. Why do you have to make it a problem? He says. All right, some more text on October the 23rd. Jane, don't want to confuse the two. Jane texts Diddy, our experiences are desensitizing sex for me. That was in October of 2023. She said, I need a break. I don't want to do anything. I've hit a wall. I can't be used like this anymore. I just want to make you happy, but it's creating a war inside of me. Cassie texted. Jane, sorry. Jane sobbed on the witness stand Monday morning while reading the texts. She clarified, I was referring to not wanting to give my body to anyone else, period, she testified. She wanted to give her body to him. She loved him. This was his kink. She was going along with his kink in the relationship because she loved him. Why did she love him? I think, this is where we start to get into some real suspect kind of motivations. Like Cassie, I believe she wanted to be a star. Now, that doesn't mean that she also wasn't willing to have sex with him. I don't think Diddy's an attractive man. I think he's probably got game. He's got a lot of money. He's young. He's a rock star. He can get laid, is my point. But I don't know. These women felt special. They were in his world, and he took advantage of it. Why did he take advantage of it? Because he's a garbage human being. Nobody's denying that. Jane says that she was referring in the text to not wanting to give her body to anyone else but Diddy. It says here, jurors have been shown dozens of messages in which Jane told Diddy in 2023 that she didn't want to take part in their hotel nights and that she felt he was simply using her for sexual pleasure. Well, no getting one past her, I guess, huh? I mean, isn't that really it? A woman scorned? Aren't all of these girls just sort of lashing out because they wanted to be the number one? We heard days of testimony of how Cassie was jealous of Kim Porter, the mother of Diddy's kids, because within Diddy's universe, even within his personal assistants and bodyguards and all the people that made his universe tick, even when Cassie was his obvious girlfriend of the moment, Kim Porter was the number one woman in Diddy world. And that bothered Cassie. They all just wanted to be number one. And he was a player and didn't give a shit. Again, garbage human being. International sex trafficking crime lord? I don't know. I just don't know. We'll see. There's a lot more. All right, let's keep going here. Jurors have been shown dozens of text messages. She said she didn't want to take part in their hotel nights anymore. But in one text Jane sent Combs in the fall of 2023, she said, "I know I was consenting, like you say on tape." Okay, so that's a text she sent. That's the quote. Okay, so in quotations, "I know I was consenting, like you said on tape." So here's the prosecution introducing a text where she admits via text that she was consenting to all of these freak-offs. But I don't know. I need more context. Again, the quote is, "I know I was consenting, comma, like you say on tape." End of quote. Like you say on tape. I'm not sure what that means. Prosecutor Maureen Comey asked Jane, "Why did you say, 'I know I was consenting'?" To which Jane replied on the stand, "Well, I picked that word up from Combs. He said, if anyone saw these videos, they'd say that you wanted it." Comey followed up by asking if it was true that Jane agreed to partake in orchestrated sex marathons. To which Jane replied to the jury, "I'm still trying to figure that out." That is not good enough, Jane. I'm still trying to figure that out. The prosecutor directly asks Jane, "Is it true, Jane, that you agreed to take part in orchestrated sex marathons?" And she said, "I'm still trying to figure that out." My God, what is that, like a complicated Oprah moment where you are in I don't know, Oprah. I'm still trying to figure out what part of me can answer that question. You know, like that. What? I'm still trying to figure it out. It's a yes or no answer. Yes, I believe she did consent. Why? Because she thought this was a part of, how she stays in Diddy's universe. There are no guns. There's no, some of these women, they were drugs. Some of them were like, "I don't want to do drugs." And he's like, "Okay." None of these so-called charges that we heard seem to be fleshing out in the actual trial. Charges, I should say, accusations. All right, they took a little lunch break and then court resumed. Diddy Combs, in a call he secretly recorded, told his one-time influencer girlfriend Jane that he thought they, quote, both enjoyed taking part in freak-offs. So let me catch you up here. So prosecution now plays a recording, a secretly recorded conversation between Diddy and Jane. Diddy secretly recorded this. Now you might be thinking, well, how did the prosecution get it? If this is Diddy, what did he offer it to the prosecution? No, this is a recording that was found on the phone of Diddy's assistant during the raids. So the feds got this. This is part of the evidence that they got. And it's a recording that Diddy made where he is asking Jane, I thought you were totally down with it. It says, Jane, I thought that we both enjoyed taking part in freak-offs. Now, why might Diddy have intentionally have recorded that specific question in response to Jane? Because he knew he was in trouble and he wanted to start lining up his ducks. Okay, I get that. He was going to have her on tape saying that she was, totally consenting. The call came after Cassie Ventura filed her bombshell lawsuit. So there's the motivation right there. Cassie files the lawsuit. The tape gets released. It's a huge, big thing. Diddy is, from what we were told right up until he was arrested, he was still with Jane. But it sounds to me like he and Jane had some sort of estrangement here because he's getting her lined up, secretly recording her, asking her, "Hey, I thought you liked the freak-offs, right? Isn't that something we were into?" Combs allegedly covertly taped a call he made to Jane back in 2023, saying to her, just some kinky shit that I thought we both enjoyed regarding the freak-offs. Okay, so he's trying to establish for this very moment, a little piece of tape that he can say, nah, she was into it. Look, here she is. Backfired on him because he didn't expect his home to be raided and his assistant's, phone to be taken. Combs was presumably referring to Jane and his so-called freak-offs in which Jane had sex with male escorts while he recorded the activities and pleasured himself. On the call, Jane was horrified by Cassie's allegations and saw parallels in her own relationship with Combs. She said, just reading it all, it's just so like word for word, Jane said to Diddy. So this is during the conversation. He's like, yo, you see that? That's crazy. And she's like, it's Diddy. It's word for word like what I'm going through. And they have that on tape. Diddy thought that was going to be protection for him, and it turns out, nope. Jane testified that she didn't know that she was being recorded, the call was seized from devices taken from Combs' assistant, Christina Karam, like I told you. Then Jane texted Diddy that she felt like a sex worker. Jane once texted that she felt like a, quote, sex worker in the relationship with Diddy. She says, here's a quote, here's the text. I became a side chick and a sex worker in my own relationship, she said to him in 2023. Jane has testified that she was constantly pressured into performing for Combs in orchestrated sex marathons in which she had sex with male escorts while the rapper watched, filmed, and pleasured himself. We keep going back to that. All right, enough. We know what Diddy's role was. Jeez. All right, now the subject of blackmail was introduced. Oh, not the kind from a couple weeks ago with the Punisher and, I don't know, male escort Leo. No, this is real blackmail. Sean Diddy Combs once threatened to release sex tapes of Jane to her baby daddy. Jane says in a text, quote, you threatened to release my tapes and threatened to post them, Jane texted Diddy. Jane explained to jurors what she meant by text, saying, at the height of his anger, Diddy just said, I'm just gonna show your child's father these tapes. I have nothing to lose, Diddy said to Jane. Okay. Then it gets weird. Okay, so it's a horrible thing, right? Look at this. Here's an example that Jane is testifying to today in court, an example of Diddy blackmailing her. You do what I say, or I'm going to show these tapes to your baby daddy, right? That's blackmail. That's terrible. But then listen to how she responds. She responds with blackmail. See, all of these people, I have zero empathy for any of these people so far. Save for those moments in that video where Cassie's being thrown around. I feel sorry for the security guards who got roped into this. Nah, I don't, because they turned out to be pieces of crap, right? Not that one guy. The one guy, Izzy Ramirez or something. Izzy Garcia or something. I don't know. He was the security guard that didn't take the bribe, that testified of his own free will. All right, so let's get into the blackmail thing. So Diddy says, hey, I'm threatening to release these sex tapes. I'm going to show them to your baby daddy. To which Jane replied via text, you threaten to release my tapes? You threaten to post them? At the height of his anger, he just said, I'm just going to show your child's father these tapes. I have nothing more to lose, Diddy texted. Okay? But then, during the breakup, Combs agreed to pay his influencer $450,000 in reimbursement for their relationship. Jane texted the Bad Boy Records founder, I want 3 years reimbursement. So get it? She's saying, I want money or what? I'm going to talk? I want 3 years reimbursement for all of the stuff that I did with you, she said. Jane said Combs then asked her to come up with a number. And at the time, she didn't know how much that Cassie had settled for. So Diddy sent her a text that said, $150,000 to move on from resentment. Diddy sent to her. So she's like, give me money. I want $450,000. And he says, I'll give you $150K and we'll just move on. I mean, she was kidnapped. He's offering her money to just go away and leave him alone. $150K to move on from resentment, Diddy replied. Jane texted him, I want $100,000 a year. She's negotiating. I mean, again, I keep saying agency. She's in a position to negotiate. That is not a gun to your head. That is not a sex slave. God, it's insulting to anybody who's actually been trafficked. 150 to move on from resentment, Diddy replied. Jane texted him, I want $100K a year. Jane told Combs that she turned down work opportunities during her 3 years dating him. And much of that time, she was high and coerced to perform sex marathons with male escorts for his pleasure. Combs then called her and agreed to the $450,000 demand. So he's not even like a cruel or vindictive negotiator. He's like, yes, whatever, fine. I don't know. It just, none of this is adding up. Jane said, I remember he was saying, charge me for your resentment. I don't want any loose ends. Charge me for your resentment. I don't want any loose ends. Right? That sounds like a guy who's just done with her. It says here, it was not immediately clear if Combs had actually paid the money to Jane. Well, ask her. She's on the stand. What do you mean it's not clear? It was not immediately clear that Combs paid the money to Jane. But she did testify last week that her $10,000 monthly rent for a posh house was still being paid for by Diddy per the terms of their, quote, love contract. Remember that? I think that's what it is. I think she keeps her mouth shut. She gets the love contract. She doesn't embarrass him or whatever. Go out, talk about how he likes stuff smeared on him. Cassie testified that she settled her bombshell lawsuit with the hip-hop mogul for $10 million. Cassie got $10 million. And this is all still going on. Jane only got $450, but Jane is suing him in a separate case, a separate civil case. So we'll see how that goes on. Then Jane dropped the bombshell of bombshells. This is actually, this isn't the bombshell of bombshells. This is the bombshell before the bombshell of bombshells. Diddy kept having freak-offs after his home was raided. After we learned all about the baby oil and all the embarrassing rumors started to circulate online. After the man was humiliated, shown pacing back and forth out in front of the private jet airport there in Miami. Remember that? The night of his home raids, he was found at the airport. Well, he kept having the summer of Diddy, man. Sean Diddy Combs brazenly kept having freak-offs after the feds raided his homes in March of 2024. Jane participated. Jane, Combs' influencer girlfriend until his September arrest, testified, ride or die, I guess not. Jane, his girlfriend until his September arrest, testified that after the pair were on a break, the hip-hop mogul wooed her back, despite her repeatedly telling him that she felt used by his relentless pressures for her to continuously partake in, quote, hotel nights or freak-offs. Whatever you're comfortable. You say Caribbean, I say Caribbean. Jane testified that she ended up going on a few trips to Miami and Los Angeles in May, July, and August of 2024, where she ended up getting sucked back into, wrong word, don't use that word, where she ended up getting sucked back into more of the drug-fueled sex marathons. Okay, so like right up until before he got arrested, he was still having freak-offs. Probably had a freak-off the night. Freak-off tape drama. Here we go. Here's another thing that was testified to. Jane testified that she fainted when she found out that a really big media company had acquired one of her sex tapes. Jane, who was in a relationship with Combs up until his September arrest, said that she was first extorted by a porn star named Sly, whom she and Combs had hired multiple times. Freak-offs. Remember Sly? We talked about Sly. Wasn't it, remember, because Sly, I thought, had a good porn star sex worker name? Sly. Like, that sounds like a guy that's really going to lay the pipe, right? And remember the other one was The Punisher? So there was like the Punisher and Sly. And then there was like some guy named Doug. It was like the three escorts who've been named are the Punisher, Sly, and Doug. Sly's a porn star. I don't know if he's a male porn star. I've got to be honest, never heard of him. It makes me think he might be a gay porn star, right? Not just like, I don't know. Who knows? I'll have to look into Sly. Anyway, so Sly started to blackmail Jane. Sly's like, hey, man. Jane, who was in a relationship with Diddy up until his arrest, said she was first extorted by Sly, whom she and Combs had hired for freak-offs. Sly tried to get $10K out of her in March of 2024 after the feds raided Combs' home, but said Jane told Combs who helped her. Okay, so Sly tried to get $10K out of her, and Jane went to Diddy and said, he's doing this. And then lawyers got involved. And okay, so there you go. Man, the male porn stars. Not that I don't know any male porn stars, but I got to tell you, I recently watched Boogie Nights with my son. That Dirk Diggler, that guy, their lives are all train wrecks. I mean, I don't know what porn star girls are like, probably similar, but guy porn stars. Okay, so there's that. There's Boogie Nights. And then on, I think it's Netflix, maybe Prime, maybe Hulu, who can tell these days? It's one of those. There's like this special 4-part crime series about the Wonderland murders, which were these murders in LA that John Holmes was involved in. And they're going into detail about John Holmes' personal life. And look, I can tell you, if John Holmes was involved in this, he would definitely be extorting Jane to put anything past these people. Anyway, but let's get back on track. It's enough about what I'm watching in my spare time. She says, I fainted and I called my lawyer. Diddy's lawyer, you mean? The video never came out and Jane doesn't know why or what happened to the video. But okay, so back in March of 2024, after the houses were raided, a media company, a big media company she describes, called her and said, look, we got the video. I'm betting it's TMZ. And then I'm betting that Diddy, probably offered exclusives or money or whatever, bought the tape, whatever it is. She doesn't say who it is, but that would be the big media company that I would think that would acquire such a tape and then come to her for comment. TMZ tries to pretend they're a legit, journalistic outlet. So they would absolutely acquire the tape and then want comment. Other people would just put it up and want to get clicks for it, They wouldn't give a shit what she thinks. Cassie, the video release. Jane was sleeping. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so this is, when the Cassie video got released by CNN, breaking news, CNN has acquired video of Sean Diddy Combs ragdolling his girlfriend, Cassie. Of course, it was in 2016, and this was released in 2024. But when that video was released, Jane was in bed with Diddy. It says here, Jane was sleeping with Diddy at his Miami home in May of 2024 when CNN published the infamous footage. Jane said that one of the hip-hop producer's adult sons knocked on the bedroom door to let them know that, quote, Pops, something had happened. She told jurors that she then went downstairs and watched the assault video on her phone, describing the day as very eerie. Jane said she recalled giving Combs space as he went into damage control, huddling up with his team and his family. She says here, I just remember that they were just trying to come up with some sort of a sincere apology post or something regarding the video. Yes, something sincere worked out with your damage control crisis management team. Very sincere. At $15,000 an hour or whatever the Diddy's crisis management team was charging. I just remember they were all trying to come up with some sort of sincere apology. Jane said that she was ultimately disappointed with Combs' public apology he posted on his Instagram page. I felt there was no heart there, she told jurors. So then I guess they played the apology, the Instagram post, and there was an objection from Diddy's side. The jury was let out. And then there was a little bit of back and forth between the judge and both sides. And apparently it was allowed back in. Here's the other bombshell. Here's the other bombshell that was revealed on the stand today by Jane, who we learned last Friday, her $10,000 a month home. That's what rent is. I don't know what your rent is. Mine isn't $10,000. She doesn't need a $10,000, but she's got one. Her $10,000 a month home is still being paid for every month by Diddy. That was shocking. Well, guess what? Diddy is still paying all of her bills, including bills for the attorney that she is hired to sue him. That's right. All her money comes from Diddy. All of it still. Sean Diddy Combs is still paying Jane's legal fees as she testifies against him. Question was asked by prosecuting attorney, who has paid for the lawyer the whole time that you've had this lawyer? Asked prosecution. Sean, replied Jane, who has testified that he kept her financially beholden to him, threatening to withhold the $10,000 allowance she mostly spent on rent. See, that beholden, he's still paying the bills. Where is the line? If he's beholden, that means there must be something they can do to lose everything. This woman is suing him for millions of dollars and he's still paying the bills. So even that's not over the line. So I ask, how are you defining beholden? I don't understand it. These women are living incredible lives. Yes, they went through some really jacked up sex shit with a total perv who's like the world's worst boyfriend. And he's a jerk. And he's an abuser. And he should probably be marginalized from any form of show business. Send him to YouTube to see what he can. Send him into Kanye land. See what he can, make way with over there. But not. He doesn't deserve to go to prison forever. He just doesn't. I'm sorry. The humiliation and time served should be enough so far. Give me more. He's still paying her bills. How vindictive can he be? Sean is still paying, Jane replied. She testified that he still pays her $10,000 a month rent. Following a brief break in their relationship between December of 2023 and February of 2024, Jane created an OnlyFans account and was generating her own income. She testified money. Oh, because I've been calling her a wannabe OnlyFans. It's nice to see that she finally fulfilled one of her life goals, to have strange randos in Iowa give her their debit cards so that she can show them her boobs. Like I said, empathy. Do you remember this is the same woman who cried on the stand when Diddy introduced watching porn? It was too much for her, said the OnlyFans model. It's all bullshit. This is all just spinning so far off of what I consider to be a logical. I didn't think it was going to be this absurd. I really didn't. We are spinning out of control. The defense hasn't won a day since week 2. The prosecution is now running it up. Following a brief break in their relationship, Jane created an OnlyFans account and was generating her own income. However, her proceeds weren't enough for her to pay off her credit card debt that she'd incurred. How? Furnishing her free home. Oh, she went to the fancy furniture stores. She didn't go to Rooms to Go. She wasn't buying off jcpenney.com. No, she probably got an interior designer. Oh, she went all in. And now she can't pay for her fancy 18th century armoire. And she really, come on, man. Is this seriously supposed to resonate with a working class jury? Is it really? She went on OnlyFans, and that wasn't good enough for her to be able to pay her furniture bill. Furniture bill. You got to be kidding me. I have slept on a mattress on the floor, and I've used a milk crate as a coffee table. Furniture bills. I'm telling you, being a hot girl is definitely the better way to go than being like a weird-looking, misshapen dude his whole life. Being a hot girl, I would have had so much more comfort in my life. Probably some wilder sex, too. I'm just guessing. That seems like they go hand in hand. But whatever, I'm down. Here's what she says. She switched over to OnlyFans and was generating her own income. However, her proceeds weren't enough for her to pay off the credit card debt that she'd incurred furnishing her new home. She says here's her quote to the working class jury. I just wanted to be independent again. I wanted to reclaim having that confidence where I didn't have to rely on anyone. Rely on anyone? You're a sugar baby. Whoa. Are you insane? I mean, seriously, think of the delusional world that this woman lives in. I just wanted him to give me money and pay all my bills without me having to do anything. Is that so wrong? That's basically what she's saying. Now, we're all grossed out by what he expected her to do, right? That's a separate thing. We agree. But how do I find empathy for her? How? Oh, she's got a house full of like super kick-ass furniture. She's not paying for the rent. She's there for another like 2 years regardless. Remember, that's the love contract. It runs till like 2026. Jeez. I just wanted to be independent again. I wanted to reclaim having that confidence where I didn't have to rely on anyone. Jane also went on and talked about some pretty violent situations that she found herself in. Yeah, Jane wasn't immune to that side of Diddy's wrath. Jane described for jurors the night at her home with Combs that turned dark and violent. This was in June of 2024. This is just, he knew he was about to be arrested, so he's stressed out. Jane admitting to kicking things off by calling Diddy names, pushing his head on a marble countertop, and then throwing candles and glass at him. Okay. This is I didn't do anything. I mean, I called him names and I smashed his face into the marble and then I threw glass at him. But I didn't do anything. Okay. All right, here we go. Of course, his response is going to be that of an asshole because he's an asshole. Jane admitting to kicking things off by calling Diddy names, pushing his head onto a marble countertop, and then throwing candles and glass at him. After finally losing it, Combs, Jane started to see that things were escalating, so she wanted to get away from him. She started locking herself in various rooms, but Diddy would kick in the locked doors each time. Okay. I imagine there was a my house, bitch, and then he's kicking in the door. You see that coming. This is my house. Jane then made for the front door before Sean kicked me from the back of my thigh. I fell down on my butt, and then he picked me up and he put me in a chokehold. Jane says that she managed to squirm free. Diddy obviously doesn't have good technique. He didn't lock. You gotta lock in on the forearm. If you don't do the technique proper, they can just, especially a small, tiny girl, which I think Jane is, she can probably just wiggle out of that real easy. Jane says she managed to squirm free, run barefoot out of the house 6 blocks away, and hide out for 2 hours before returning to the house. Well, you return to the house. 6 blocks. That's a lot. That's almost a mile. She's out there running barefoot. But why'd she go back? See, again, she went back. And, oh, Pugs, you don't understand the mentality of the abused woman. No, I don't, thankfully. And it's a terrible thing, I can imagine. But I don't understand why you would go back. Nothing. Well, you don't understand. Yeah, I guess I don't understand that aspect of it. I mean, I think I know why. I think she went back because, super expensive cotton sheets and, nice cars and parties and, hey, Jay-Z and Beyonce are supposed to come for the weekend. I mean, I think that's why she went back. I'm being honest. She didn't want to lose all that. Jane says, okay, so she went back. Okay, so she goes back to the house after running away. When she gets back to the house, Combs kicked and punched Jane upon her return as she lay balled up on the ground. Smacked her. See, this is what he should be doing time for. But he's not being charged with this stuff. Smacked her as she stood naked in the shower and then demanded that she put on lingerie and high heels for a freak off. Okay, so he beat the snot out of her. She didn't want to do the freak off. She runs away. She comes back. He beats the snot out of her again. These are all very straight up pimp moves. This is how pimps. So, And then he makes her do a freak off. Same night. Combs kicked and punched Jane upon her return as she laid balled up on the ground. He smacked her as she stood naked in the shower and then demanded that she put on lingerie and high heels for a freak-off. Well, I hope all this didn't go down in front of the paid escort. I hope this wasn't Doug. I hope Doug didn't see this. The woman Jane told jurors that Combs brazenly told her to cover up her injuries from the assault, which left her with a black eye and 2 golf ball-sized welts on her forehead. Here's a quote now from Jane. He said, just put some makeup on it. Put your hair to the side. You'll be fine, Jane recalled. Combs told her, just put some ice on it and put an outfit on. He wanted me to put lingerie and high heels on, Jane said. What did you do? Prosecutor Maureen Comey asked. I did what he said, Jane replied. Combs then added, we're not going to end the night like this. You're not going to ruin this night. Before the forced sex session, he pressured her to take an ecstasy pill, saying, take this fucking pill. You're not going to ruin my fucking night. Jesus, see? Oh, but baby, but you don't understand. You don't understand. He's so sweet. He can be so sweet, though, you guys. You guys, you just don't know him the way I do. Oh, my God, he's so sweet. Nobody loves me the way he does. Oh, God. Before the forced sex session, he pressured her to take an ecstasy pill, saying, take this fucking pill. You're not going to ruin my fucking night. Then he told her to start having sex with Doug, the prostitute. No, I added Doug. I have no idea what the scheduling of man whores was. Is this coercion? Combs said. Standing really close to Jane's face, she testified through tears. She testified that. We don't have that in the text. The incident took place on June 18th, 2024, a few months after Combs' homes were raided. This was between the raiding and the arrest, when he was on everybody's radar. This shit went down. The incident took place on June 18th, 2024, a few months after Combs' homes were raided by feds. And a few months before he was ultimately arrested in September for allegedly coercing women to have sex with hookers. So the breakup. Let's get to the breakup because Jane's finally going to tell us what was the Rubicon. She went through all of this stuff. She kept going back. She's getting all her bills paid. She likes that. It's a trade-off. It's a terrible choice. It's a Sophie's choice kind of a deal. But she was willing to go through with it. So the breakup comes. Sean Diddy Combs texted Jane just days before his arrest, asking her for X-rated videos and for her to come see him in New York City. All right, so he was in New York City. Now, what we know is that he was in New York City specifically because he knew he was going to be arrested. They were trying to work on terms for him to turn himself in, but it turns out that they didn't allow that. They just went and arrested him. But he was in New York City, and he knew he was going to be arrested. He knew this whole thing was coming. So now he's reaching out to Jane. He's like, give me the videotapes, right? I don't know if he's trying to get rid of them or he's trying to figure out what side she's on. He says, give me the videotapes and come to New York City. I am certain, just because I've been paying attention to every minute of this trial, I am certain that he was trying to get her to come to New York to talk to her, to get where her head is at, maybe even, write a big old check for her to be quiet. Okay? Sean Diddy Combs texted Jane to come to New York and that he wanted the X-rated videos. Jane exchanged her final text conversation with Diddy on September 9th, just 5 days before he was arrested in Manhattan. The hip-hop Diddy had asked her to come bring the videos and visit him in the Big Apple. Prosecutor Maureen Comey asked Jane, did you end up going to New York to see him? To which Jane responded, no, because he was arrested. So that's the only reason they broke up. She was going to go to New York and she was maybe going to get a payoff and she was maybe going to say nothing. But unfortunately, he got arrested first, so he wasn't able to have that meeting. Do you see what I mean? That's not admirable. Okay, if I'm sitting on the jury and I'm hearing her do that and Comey says, did you go to New York? And Jane says, no. And then Comey says, why? And Jane says, because he was arrested. That's the reason you didn't go to New York, take the payoff, and possibly keep your mouth shut about all this stuff you went through. It's because he was arrested first. I mean, Then Comey followed up. She asked Jane on the sand. This is pretty much how we ended this whole thing today. He asked Jane, he said, how do you feel about Sean now? How do you feel about Diddy now? Jane let out a deep exhale before answering. She said, get this, I just pray for his continued healing, and I pray for peace for him. All right, that's it, folks. The trial will resume tomorrow morning around 9 a.m. I believe the prosecution is done. What we should expect from tomorrow is a full day of Terry Garagos, Sean Diddy Combs' defense attorney, cross-examining Jane, all the stuff that she has said. Jane has gone deep, guys. The last 3 days, a lot of bombshells, a lot of things. I personally am looking forward to seeing how this defense is going to just artfully turn everything into a positive for Diddy, because that is what they have been doing this entire case, this entire trial. I am not an advocate for Diddy. I think the man is a piece of garbage. I think he has done terrible things. I think he has exploited and manipulated everybody because he is drunk on his own power and influence. But I do not think that the prosecution has made any headway whatsoever. They're lucky. The careers of these prosecutors, they are lucky that this isn't on TV. If this was on TV, if we were seeing this nonsense, this overcharging, these absurd direct examinations where they think they're scoring points, but, Jane's saying stuff like, well, he got arrested. That's why we broke up. We broke up because he got arrested and he's horrible. And I was going to really believe him in any minute, but that shit isn't resonating. They are getting their asses handed to them. All right, folks, like, follow, subscribe. We do this every night. Tomorrow we'll be back with day 20 of Diddy or Didn't He, only on Radio Misfits, radiomisfits.com. If you're interested in watching the video version, you can go to Radio Misfits on YouTube. The video versions are up there. Also, you can like them on Facebook, Radio Misfits. You can watch it on there as well. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with day 20. I am Pugs Moran. This is Diddy or Didn't He on radiomisfits.com.